Cameras rolling on the takedown.
Let me go!
After news crew in Orlando comes under fire. 1 year later,
against one of the strongest army in the world, a Russian army.
A look back on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. College student taking a stand.
I'm walking against DeSantis' policy.
With a statewide walkout. And a plan to combat cancer from Florida's First Lady.
For people to find avenues to be able to get help.
These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Esteban Rodriguez.
I'm Leanne Abutarbouche. Today is Friday, February 24th, 2023.
Live from the FIU Lee Kaplan School of Journalism and Media, this is SFMN Newsbreak.
An injured Orlando photojournalist speaking out about the shooting that injured him and killed a colleague. Jesse Walden, working for Spectrum News 13, was critically injured in a series of shootings Wednesday.
The shooter took the lives of 3 people, including reporter Dylan Lyons. Both men began working at Orlando station around the same time, and Jesse says they were close.
And I got very, very close. He had a great sense of humor too.
The suspect in the shooting is a 19-year-old who has been taken into custody. Jesse is expected to have months in recovery ahead of him as the station grieves the loss of Dylan Lyons.
The sheriff's office has released a body cam video capturing the moment that triple murder suspect was arrested. The video captures deputies placing the suspect in handcuffs moments after a shooting spree. The suspect, 19-year-old Keith Moses, is accused of the Orlando shootings. 3 people were killed, including a 9-year-old girl and a Central Florida television news reporter.
A sad anniversary this morning as we mark 1 year since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Reporter Sofia Zuniga from our DC Bureau is in Washington this morning.
1 year ago today, Russia invaded Ukraine in a conflict that has killed 21,000 civilians and has left 18 million in dire need of humanitarian assistance, according to the United Nations. Russia has taken 11% of Ukraine's territory over the year-long war, but Ukrainian troops have been able to reclaim half of the captured land. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and other leaders have continuously encouraged strength despite the challenges.
We're fighting already 1 year against one of the strongest army in the world, a Russian army. And Ukrainian soldiers show the whole world how tough we are, how we have very important will and spirit to win. But it's not enough to have just will and spirit. We're fighting for our democratic future in our country, and that's why it's very important to have support from democratic people.
Since the conflict began, 46 countries, including Australia, Belgium, and Canada, have sent financial, humanitarian, and military aid. The United States has provided the most military aid out of all the countries, with President Biden recently visiting Ukraine and mentioning that the U.S. is committed to a Ukraine win against the Russian leader Vladimir Putin.
A dictator bent on rebuilding an empire will never be able to ease the people's love of liberty. Brutality will never grind down the will of the free. And Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia. Never.
While Biden continues to send financial support, some Americans and Republicans are fearful that the U.S. is sending too much money amid debt issues in the nation. Reporting for the South Florida Media Network, I'm Sofia Zuniga from Washington, D.C.
A man was put on death row after being convicted of stabbing a woman in 1991. Last month, Florida Governor DeSantis signed a death warrant for Donald Dilbeck. The Florida Supreme Court denied this man's request to stop the execution in mid-February. The man, executed by lethal injection, became the 100th person to be put to death by the state of Florida since 1976, while the death penalty was brought back.
College students all over Florida organized a walkout to protest against Governor Ron DeSantis. As the network's Rachel Costa reports, it's all over recent promise to cut state funding for diversity, equality, and inclusion.
after Governor Ron DeSantis requested records about transgender students and started pushing for the ban of diversity programs in state colleges, students organized a statewide walkout.
I'm walking against DeSantis' policies and the Republican Party's attack on the democracy in Florida, on trans rights and LGBTQ rights, on our education.
According to Stand for Freedom Florida, an Instagram page helping different student organizations connect and organize, students demand a stop to attacks against academic freedom and LGBTQ individuals, and the funding of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives across all Florida colleges.
Things like requesting your information, banning trans youth's access to gender-affirming care, banning the ability of Medicaid to cover gender-affirming care. All of this is sort of a series of these escalating attacks on trans people.
The statewide walkout counts with students and even some professors from Florida International University, University of Florida, Florida State University, University of Central Florida, and the University of North Florida.
His policies are literally destroying our educational system. It's making students not feel safe. It's creating an environment where you can't have open and honest discussions. There's this intolerance to any kind of dissent.
The call for action won't stop there. Students are also organizing a protest at the New College of Florida on Tuesday, February 28th. Reporting for the South Florida Media Network, I'm Rachel Costa.
Today, Floridians impacted by cancer will have a new resource at their disposal as First Lady Casey DeSantis begins expanding Florida Cancer Connect. DeSantis, a cancer survivor, announced yesterday that the revamped program Florida Cancer Connect Collaborative will help make treatment data more accessible, help streamline treatment best practices, and improve the allocation of state funding for cancer research and development to target innovative and meaningful advancements.
We launched the first iteration of Cancer Connect to try to provide a one-stop shop, so to speak, for people to find avenues to be able to get help.
DeSantis says the goal of the expansion is to break down barriers between patients, researchers, and medical providers, and to make treatments quickly and easily available.
Post-Super Bowl, what will Rihanna do as an encore?
That's still ahead, and so is this story.
We really want to lower any and all barriers to having this life-saving medication on hand.
Getting a spray that can help after an overdose into the hands of potential lifesaver. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
If a natural disaster shows up at your doorstep, you can't just turn it away. That's why it's important to prepare for emergencies before they show up. Go to ready.gov/plan to find the tools and tips you need. And make a plan today.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Access to an antidote for overdose. Emergency aid officials trying to increase access to an antidote for overdose. Constant battle against opioid in the U.S. is requiring experts every day to find ways to save lives.
DC Bureau reporter Claudia Morales tells us more about how an antidote can bring back to life people after drug overdoses. Fans are still not over Rihanna's iconic Super Bowl performance. The superstar is now set to perform Lift Me Up at the Oscars, according to the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences. The song from Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, is up for Best Original Song, making Rihanna's first ever Oscar nomination. The Barbadian singer is breaking milestones not only in her career but in her personal life too. She's now expecting a second child with rapper A$AP Rocky. That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Leanne Abutarbush.
And I'm Esteban Rodriguez. Get more news anytime at sfmn.fiu.edu.